Blog Talk Radio.
All praises, all praises, all praises to our Elohim, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So, here we go. The last week, we discussed some things, conversation. And these words tonight are not my words. These are the Father's words, the Spirit's words. So before we get going, let's do this. All praises. Hallelujah. All praises. Shalom. Shalom. Yisharah. Shalom, Jacobites. Shalom, nation. Shalom, brethren. Shalom, family. Shalom.
What the choice is, yo. That was that. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Play. Oh, listen to me.
All right. All right. Yeah, there were some secular words in there, but if you dig deep into it, it makes a lot of sense. The black sheeps are back. I'll listen to some talk radio. I don't know why, but it just it was different stations. I don't even know why. I normally don't even do that, but for some reason it was on. I turned to it. I switched stations, and this was on. And I heard this nation fellow crying and complaining about Biden, and I go, my spirit was like, you see, when the going gets tough, they cry. We had our goings get rough, and we didn't cry, although they made us die. We didn't cry, although they lied. And now we survive. And here we are today, the black sheep, the Negro sheep, the Israelite sheep, the lambs to the sheep, not to the slaughter, because that's already occurred. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be some that will not heard or hear and be slaughtered, But nevertheless, they were crying. They were just whining about Biden and what they couldn't do. And I was saying to myself, man, you guys, enough already. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You know what I'm saying? Like, enough. They don't even understand. It's like they can't. I did a search, and the search I did was what are the Gentile nations in the Bible? And what's funny is they won't even acknowledge them. You got to do the search as what are the nations that Daniel spoke about in the Bible. They won't even acknowledge who they are. They have been so hell-bent on getting us, or the Negro in particular, to capitulate to being a heathen and a Gentile and a savage and a slave, that they have forgotten who they are. And it's to be expected because it was their turn, right? It was their turn. But now it is come to a head. We could say 400 years was over in 2019, but we really could, 1619, the brothers that came over, they weren't indentured servants, so they weren't necessarily slaves. So maybe a few years after that, did the Indo-European decide to create a system of enslavement, chattel enslavement. So we are a few years outside of 2019, and look at all that's going on. There's so many people struggling mentally, and that's because of their philosophy. The nation's philosophy was based on riddles of supremacy that could not be maintained. There had to come a point where the recessive could no longer say they were the dominant. And especially when you take the gun or the sword out of the recessive's hand, there's no dominance there. The brutes have been found out. They've been found out. And it's just interesting to me, and I just wanted to say, because I wanted to blow the shofar. I wanted to, do the this or that, because this is where it's at. And you can either get with that, or you can get with this, or you can get with this, or you can get with that. This is where we've come to. Why? Because what has transpired is the oppression and or the suppression of free will has been broken. I'll say that again. The suppression and or oppression of free will has been broken. What was the church's aim, their goal? Their goal was to break the free will of Israel, of the Jacob, of Jacob, of Jacob. It was to break it. Everything that Israel, that Jacob set forth, the church made it contrary. As we know, went against their doctrine, so they were heretics and they were destroyed. So their entire aim has been to take the free will away from us, inadvertently taking the free will away from their own people. In order to get to heaven, you've got to come through me. You've got to, deal with our vicar of Christ. You've got to deal with our doctrines and our dogma because Jesus came for us. See, that's taking away the free will because the free will of humanity was to choose. It was a choice. And then they got slick and they said, well, okay, we'll give them a choice. We'll give them the lesser of the two evils. That's why it's so crazy to be voting at this point in time. To think that to think rationally that a vote cast for the lesser of the two evils will bring forth righteousness is it is fool's gold. And the irony is that we can see all the foolish actions that they've taken because they're a foolish nation. All of them. No, not one. All of them are a foolish nation. Because if they weren't a foolish nation, they would have by now recognized the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They would have recognized it. Matter of fact, they would have brought it to the forefront, and they would have been righteously living. But instead, they didn't. Today, we got we got fires. We've got fires purging the land. And yeah, they want to say, oh, well, the white man did it. The government did it. Come on, listen. A foolish nation can only do what a supreme being wants it to. A foolish nation does not have the capacity to think clearly and rationally to be able to create any type of weapon to destroy the creation of the Elohim. It's just not in them to do it. Oh, well, Moriel, they got they got these weapons, and the fallen angels talk. Listen, it'd be the same as me going to a six-year-old, teaching them how to, some of them might get it, but on the whole, the majority wouldn't. And if the majority wouldn't get it in this day and age of, and in their philosophy of democracy, that person that knew how to do it would be against those that didn't. Moreover, they couldn't do anything without the help of Israel. So if we're not doing it, it's not getting done. It's just not getting done. There's no ray gun that they got that's going to shoot down a missile like Reagan wanted. There's no ray gun that burns up the land like they want to propose. They always got they always got an answer. And now that I'm listening to their answers, it's like that's a foolish answer. That's not logical. It's not rational. It's not reasonable. And for what it's worth, there's no way for these nations to come back. There's just no way. They've done too much and they won't repent. Their understanding and their ways are so detrimental to salvation Because, salvation is having having peace in the land, and they're wanting to destroy the land. So where's their salvation? The salvation isn't going to heaven. That's not biblical. That's another distraction. That's another dysfunction. That's another mental illness, because when people realize that there is no, that the Bible does not say, their Bible does not say that you're going to heaven, it's going to be a calamity. That's what we're seeing now. I'm seeing all types of people, in particular the nation's peoples, coming out saying that, hey, we've been lied to. I mean, that's the whole Biden thing. Everybody is against Biden. Everybody. Well, not everybody. But the majority of people are against Biden's ways, his actions, his policies. But yet they, instead of them going against Biden and wanting righteousness and wanting, to do the right thing, they want to go with Trump. And, Trump is what he is. Biden is what he is. And if we follow the Pied Pipers of destruction, then we can only assume and expect destruction to come to us. This is no longer, a theory. There's no more theories in this. We've dealt with this conceptually for the last 7 years, at least, and what we're seeing is the epitome of a foolish nation. So, therefore, we will be fools, nonetheless, to be following behind or asking for leadership from a foolish nation. And look, I ain't mad at these people. As a matter of fact, I don't even hate these people because they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. It's up to me, now that I have my free will back, on how I want to be living in this time. We can say it's the end days all we want. Well, at the end of the day, the end days is just the beginning. So as they cry, complain, bitch, and moan, and suffer through their end of their reign, we begin. Why? Because we get our free will back to make proper choices, proper decisions. As the covering, as the covers come off of the Gentiles' ways, the covering comes over us. But that covering that covers us does not come freely. We have to still do something. It's a cost to it. Therefore, that comes with, come up out of her, my people, so you are not partakers of her plagues. Because there's a lot of strife going on. And listen, I'm not mad at these people. They're doing what they're doing. It just is what it is. But at some point, we have to stand up and explain, and not even explain. We just have to stand up and just read, and we have to stand up, be who we are to be righteously, and explain scriptures through the proper context and interpretation every chance we get in a righteous way, patiently. Because if not, we will be judged the way that we interact with them. That's why, for a while now I've been talking about, getting ourselves straight. And I'm hoping that people took heed to that. I mean, who the hell are you? If you doing dirt, you can't be talking to nobody else. You can't tell the heathen that they dirty if you dirty. So the cleanliness has to come from Israel, the whole house thereof. And, again, we look at those that say they are but are not. And listen, again, those folks, they're gonna get what's coming to them, just like the rest of them. The Khazarian Indo-European is about to have to pay the recompense, and that has nothing to do with us. They can kick the can of racism, kick the can of reparations, kick the can of critical race theory, kick the can of lies all the way down to it can't be kicked no more, up against that wall, and they're going to come to a point when they're going to say, our fathers have inherited lies. So at the end of the day, we already recognize the end game. We already see it coming. And, we have to stand up. They talk about liberty. Well, shoot, how have you nations given liberty? Liberty is free will, not freedom, not free Edom. But liberty is free will. So if you don't give liberty to everyone, then therefore you've taken the free will. You have suppressed the free will of the people. And of course, we can see that that's the truth. That's the facts of the matter. Every time that we used our own free agency and our own free will to come up with our own societies, they destroyed it. Whenever we came up with our own free will and our own free agency to think and interpret the way we wanted to, they destroyed it. And all those part of the nations that were connected to us, they got destroyed too. The Inquisition is a prime example of the suppression, oppression, and destruction of free will. It's an easy pickup. That's a layup. And this free will is now coming back to them to where they're no longer going to have free will. See, they had their free will and their free agency, and they chose unrighteously. They chose unwisely. Now, the free will is coming back over us, and as it comes over us, we get to choose righteously. As it comes over them, they get to see righteously and see their error. But because a lot of them, and this is how great the Father is. There's nothing new under the sun. The same thing that happened to us will happen to them. There's nothing new under the sun. That's why that's why he's talking to Israel throughout. First of all, we wrote it, and he was speaking to us, and he was telling us what was going to happen to us because of our unrighteousness. So we can not even assume. We can clearly see that if he is a God that does not, Elohim that does not change, then that's the same thing that's going to happen to the nations, but in a worse way. If not, these people are just degenerate. So, that gives me that leads me into the first scripture reading. And we're going to go with Ezekiel 25:32, because this is today. Now, when I read this, think about what's happening today. And this is what's happening today. Nothing new under the sun. The word of Yahusha came to me. Son of man, set your face toward the Ammonites and prophesy against them. Say to the Ammonites, hear the word of Yahusha. Thus says Yahusha, because you said, aha, over my sanctuary when it was profaned, and over the land of Israel when it was made desolate, and over the house of Judah when they went into exile. Therefore, behold, I am handing you over to the people of the east for a possession, and they shall set your dwellings in your midst. They shall eat your fruit, and they shall drink your milk. I will make Rabbah a pasture for camels, and Ammon a fold for flocks. Then you will know that I am Yahusha. For thus says Yahusha, because you have clapped your hands and stamped your feet and rejoiced with all the malice within your soul against the land of Israel. Therefore, behold, I have stretched out my hand against you, and will hand you over as plunder to the nations. And I will cut you off from the peoples and will make you perish out of the countries. I will destroy you. Then you will know that I am Yahusha. So, yes, Contextually, this was speaking to Israel, but it also, double-edged sword, speaking to the nations. Because he did this to Israel first, then the nations. So move forward. Prophecy against Moab and Seir. Thus says Yahusha, because Moab and Seir said, behold, the house of Judah is like all the other nations. Therefore I will lay open the flank of Moab from its cities on its frontier, the glory of the country, Beth Jeshimoth, Baalmeon, and Kirathim. I will give it along with the Amorites to the people of the east as a possession, that the Amorites may be remembered no more among the nations. And I will execute judgment upon Moab. Then they will know that I am Yahuwah. Prophecy against Edom. Thus says Yahusha, because Edom acted revengefully against the house of Judah and has grievously offended in taking vengeance upon them, Yahusha, I will stretch out my hand against Edom and cut off from it man and beast, and I will make it desolate from Teman even to Dedan. They shall fall by the sword, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to my anger and according to my wrath, and they shall know my vengeance, declares Yahusha. Okay? Prophecy against Philistia. Thus says Yahusha, because the Philistines and took vengeance with malice of soul to destroy in never-ending enmity. Therefore, thus says Yahusha, behold, I will stretch out my hand against the Philistines, and I will cut off the Sherethites and destroy the rest of the sea coast. I will execute great vengeance on them with wrathful rebukes. Then they will know that I am Yahusha when I lay my vengeance upon them. So all of this is talking about the people from the east. From the east. What's going on today? We got the bricks coming from what? The east. And you couldn't even make this stuff up. This is why they don't want to talk about it. This is why they're struggling right now, because every time that when they struggle, then they want to go and be comforted by, their Jesus. And when they start reading things, especially prophecy, to see how they can survive it, they keep coming up against this. They keep coming up against these prophecies that go against them. That's why they don't want to talk about it. That's why it's a tough pill to swallow for them. That's why all this entire time, this is a Shemitah year. And mind you, tonight is a blue moon, the last one. Or Most High can do what he wants. But tonight is a blue moon. And what's going on? Cloud cover. Cloud cover. Not by them, but by the Father. Because watch this. Watch this. This is about the end time. This is Ezekiel 30. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy, and say, Thus saith Yahusha, how ye, woe worth the day. For the day is near, even the day of Yahusha is near, a cloudy day. It shall be the time of the heathen. I mean, again, you can't make this stuff up. This is why they don't talk about it. This is why they talk all around Ezekiel. They talk all around the prophecies. The nations can't keep up with it. They don't know how to get through this. First search I did was, how did each Gentile nation fall? And they come up with what are the times of the Gentiles? Did I ask that? I didn't ask that. Who are the 7 Gentile nations? Okay, well, let's look at this. Who were the 7 Gentile nations? Because I asked, how did each Gentile nation fall? They coming up with, well, the meaning of Gentiles in the Bible. Who are the 7 Gentile nations? Now watch this. We see a steady shift in usage to focus on 7 large nations of people who will oppose God. Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Wait. So, like I said, I had to ask the nations that Daniel saw in the Bible, right? And this is what it says: the traditional interpretation of the 4 kingdoms shared among Jewish and Christian expositors for over 2 millennia identifies the kingdoms as the empires of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. That don't sound like, more or less, that sounds like Gentile nations. Okay. Who are the Gentiles? Okay. I'm going to read a little bit of this. A little bit. Okay, so this is life, hope, and truth. This is the times of the Gentiles. Just before he returns, Christ says the earth will be dominated by Gentile nations. Who are these Gentiles, and what will be the results of their influence? Okay. When his disciples asked Yahushua what the sign of his second coming would be, he told them that terrible and troubling times would exist just before he returned. Yahushua spoke about increasing religious deception, natural disasters, disease and pestilence, religious persecution, or spiritual persecution, revolutions, and wars. And revolutions doesn't necessarily, see, this is a Gentile mindset. They think it's all about the sword. Revolutions is a mind thing. That's why I was talking about the philosophy. Now I'm going somewhere with this. He went on to say that the fighting will culminate with Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, and he said Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles to the times of Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay, so he went on to say it would culminate with Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, and he said, see, this is where they go from 70 AD all the way to 1948. When they got their Jewish people back in. Now listen, again, that's their philosophy. That's not necessarily the truth. Okay, so Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. So from 70 AD to when? When have the Gentile nations fulfilled their destiny? Now. It's now. The cup of iniquity has been filled. By who? The Gentiles. Why? Because they're the ones in control. Now, who are the Gentiles? So who are these Gentiles Yeshua spoke about? Can they be identified today? The word Gentile, blah, 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 comes from the Latin word Gentiles, Merriam-Webster. It was used in Jerome's Latin Vulgate translation of the Bible in the 4th century, and mind you, before I go forward, there's a little history, their history, but it's riddled with bones, but we got to eat the meat and spit out the bones, okay? So, was used in Jerome's Latin Vulgate translation of the Bible in the 4th century and has been retained in English translation as Gentiles. It was used to translate the Hebrew word goyim, which appears in verses like Isaiah 11:10 and means peoples or nations that were non-Israelite. And then they added in here, or non-Jewish. Now, how can there be an or in that? That were non-Israelite. And then they add in, or non-Jewish. No. But anyway, that were non-Israelite. The Greek equivalent to goyim is ethnos, which is translated as Gentiles in the New Testament. Simply put, the Gentiles are the nations that are not of Israelite descent. In other words, the Gentiles are people who are not descendants of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Genesis 32:28. Jacob's 12 sons became the fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel, as we know, and the descendants of those sons are Israelites even to this day, though don't realize it. See, that's true. That's the meat right there. In biblical terminology, those who are not Israelites are Gentiles, okay? Biblical terminology, not man, not Catholic or churchianity terminology, but in biblical, in spiritual, in scriptural, in Israelite terminology, those who are not Israelites are Gentiles. Makes sense. The Apostle Paul recognized this distinction when he spoke to the first century Gentile Christians. While not of Israelite descent, they were now fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God because of their conversion. There's some bones right there. Because we know that Paul was speaking to Gentile Israelites. Okay? We move forward. God created all people of the same blood and with the same ultimate potential to be saved. And they throw in there Acts and Timothy, right? He loves all people. Okay, fair enough. He does. He loves all of his creation, right? But he chose to work first with the children of Israel. Not first. He chose to work only with the children of Israel, giving them knowledge and blessings so that they could become a model nation to help others come to our Elohim. As we will see, sadly, this is some bones, sadly, Israel failed in its intended role. And biblical prophecy outlines how both the descendants of Israel and the other nations will eventually learn to obey God, okay? Their God, right? All right. An important key in understanding biblical, well, I don't know how I get that off. An important key in understanding biblical prophecy is the identity of both ancient and modern-day Israel and the relationship between God and those Israelites. The prophesied time of the Gentiles Yeshua was referring to in Luke 21 will directly affect the modern descendants of Israel. In verses 20 to 24, Christ speaks of those in Judea, including those in Jerusalem, being defeated by the Gentiles. Judea basically refers to the modern nation that calls itself Israel, made up mostly of descendants of Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, 3 of Jacob's 12 sons. Okay, so first of all, more bones, modern day, I can, just like we know today, anybody can say, well, a man can say he's a woman, that don't mean that he's a woman. So it's the same situation. That's kind of interesting because the Father is showing us those that say they are but are not. It's the same principle, same thing, nothing new under the sun. So a man that says he is, although he is not, it's this whole dementia that's happened upon the earth, especially throughout the nations, because they are wicked, okay? So anyway, when God delivered ancient Israel from Egypt, the Gentile nation, also now, remember I said, how did these Gentile nations fall? They went into our, but now, when God delivered ancient Israel from Egypt, a Gentile nation, he warned them that if they rejected and forsook their Elohim, he would allow them to be militarily, spiritually overthrown and taken into captivity by Gentile nations. Israel did forsake God, their Elohim, and its people were eventually taken away into captivity by the Assyrians and Babylonians, okay? In these last days, the modern descendants of Israel have been blessed by Elohim because of his everlasting promise to Abraham. Now, see, wait a second. Wait a second. That's not biblical. More bones. Yet, God warns that if they forsake him, they too will be punished for their sins. Well, wait. But didn't that already happen? How can you, in these last days, the modern day descendants of Israel have been blessed by God? Now, see, that's a contradiction, because Israel does not become a nation again until Yahusha comes back. So this is the mind or the philosophical dysfunction that they have plagued upon our people, and as well as theirs, to believe this madness, right? It is during this promised time of the Gentiles that the modern descendants of Israel will be punished because of their rejection of God. Now, which is it? Which is it? This is why today, let me see something. Before I say that, let me see something. I want to see when this was written. Of course. So, when it's written, of course. They're going to act like this was written yesterday or some madness. But anyway, this is just to point out that, all of this is happening. All of this is happening because their turn is up. Through the prophet Daniel, God says that it is he who allows certain people and nations to come into power. There it is. And the Apostle Paul adds that God has predetermined when they will come into power and have dominance. Acts 17:26, Daniel 4:17. God revealed to Daniel that there would be 4 major empires that would play a role in prophecy in Israel. And I'm going to add these words in because, of course, they don't want to talk about Israel. They're flipping it now to Christian insanity, okay? God revealed to Daniel that there would be 4 major empires that would play a role in prophecy, in Israel's prophecy, before Yeshua's return, Daniel 2:8-43. All 4 of these empires would be led by Gentile nations. These 4 Gentile empires are represented by 4 beasts, Daniel 7:1-3. The first of these empires was Nebuchadnezzar, that's Babylon. So time out. Let me just time out for a second. Everybody want to talk about Egypt. Nobody is really understanding the historical understanding of time. And that's, again, because of Christian insanity and Catholicism changing laws and times, okay? Because Babylon was first. And then they go, well, Babylon, there was no Israelites. Daniel was an Israelite. Daniel was an Israelite during Babylon's time, during Nebuchadnezzar's turn. What is this? Why is everything hinging on Egypt? But anyway, then the Medo-Persian Empire, right? Okay. Followed by the Greco-Macedonian Empire, Alexander the Great, right? And finally, the Roman Empire. Okay, that's where, Rome came into the picture. Okay, we have traditionally understood prophecy to refer to 10. Now, here is where it gets all convoluted, and they try to add their interpretation and contextual into things. We have traditionally understood prophecy to refer to 10 revivals of the Roman Empire and a false church that would be directly involved with the last 7 revivals. This is Revelation 13:1-3. Now, again, they contradict themselves, but nevertheless, we have traditionally understood prophecy to refer to 10 revivals of the Roman Empire. Really, it's the Roman Empire and the revived Roman Empire. There's 2. What the heck is this, right? And a false church that will be directly involved with the last 7 revivals. So why is that? Why am I reading this? Because, see, what they're trying to do is they're going to try to lay the false church at the feet of true Israel. This is their philosophy. So over each of these 4 nations, each of these 4 Gentile nations that came, saw, and was destroyed, they were destroyed due to philosophy. Babylon's philosophy was different than Medo-Persia's philosophy. Medo-Persia's philosophy was different than the Greco-Macedonian philosophy. The Greco-Macedonian philosophy was different than the Roman philosophy. The initial Roman philosophy was different than the Constantine revived Roman Empire's philosophy, which we have today. So how do things change? It changes based on the philosophy, on the free will. So the free will changes. I have a free will to make a determination and make a decision based on my own due diligence, my own context, and my own interpretation. Then my philosophy will be different. That's maturation. That's growth. That's growth in the spirit. What has all 4 of these nations done to Israel? It has stunted the spiritual growth within the philosophy of our nation. This is it. This is why they're having a hard time trying to tell us what we know or don't know. This is why so many of our brethren and sisters are out here banging the gavel, banging the drums, blowing the shofar, saying, no, this is who we are. No, this is what we believe. Now, within all of that, there's different variations of the belief and different variations of who we are. Nevertheless, what we do know as a collective is that they are not who they say they are. And this is the whole connection with them. They've been fighting tooth and nail to keep hidden all of their wickedness. And even when they do bring out their wickedness, they want to pass that on to other people. They want to project that onto other people. Other people who, mind you, didn't even have the free will, didn't have the free agency to prove them wrong. So now here we are, here we are in their last days. In their last days. And those that cleave to them, and they're struggling with it, as they should. And listen, I'm not saying, because it's not going to be a good time for any of us. For Israel at this time, yes, it's an exciting time. It's a beautiful, beautiful awakening. But we still will be going through our troubles. I know that people say, well, this ain't Jacob's trouble, it's over. Listen, Jacob's trouble's not over until it's over. Now, he will be saved out of it, but him or she being saved out of it will come at a cost. What does that cost? You've got to sacrifice things. You've got to change your philosophy. You've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like this is very plain and evident on how we change the game, how the game is changed based on philosophy, just like their sports. They changed their sporting philosophy from all Indo-European, because they are Indo-European, to allow us into it. They changed their political philosophy to allow us in it. Everything. They have changed their philosophy. This is what changes the game. This is what brings on the end, is a change of philosophy. And we were like, yo, whoa, you mean we Israel? That's a change of philosophy. And that change of philosophy externally, exoterically, is surfaceable. But we say, no, we ain't black. No, we ain't African American. See, that has a ripple effect as well in that philosophy change. But then there's also the philosophy, the internal philosophy, the esoteric philosophy. And that philosophy is, wait. Which way do we go? We need to go the way of our master, the way of Yeshua. None of this stuff happened by our will, our control. None of this has happened based on that. None of us have woken up ourselves. None. And that's an absolute, and I'll go on record, and I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody that comes at me and says, well, I woke myself up. Really? Because I already know if you telling me that you woke yourself up, you're an agent. Shemaha. Because that's not the Father's will. The Father wakes you up. The Father brings his spiritual prowess, understanding, wisdom to you to be able to see the way, to see Yeshua's way. And that is an internal philosophy change. Because why? Because the I woke myself up is what? Pride. What is this whole world based its whole existence on? Pride. And pride is a subtle demon. It's not an in-your-face demon like they want you to believe, or like, oh, you're pride. I mean, I'm this, I'm that. Narcissist. No, listen. Pride is a lot of things. Pride is a non-humbleization of your free will. Pride is the ability to take on other people's understanding and have patience with them. Pride will destroy. We know that. We've been destroyed because of our pride. So the philosophy change has to change from pride to humility. And this is the psychological dysfunction that the world is in right now. I mean, how the hell can you be French? How can you put your mind to think that you being French, you can go over to another person's land and take and stay in that land when you wouldn't allow other people to do that and control it? Just pride. Each one of these nations, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, they ebbed and flowed, they came and went based on their pride. And each one of them had a change of philosophy, although it was probably minute in philosophy, some spiritual philosophy changes, some political philosophy changes. But the people dealt with that, The people had to deal with that. And even in this philosophy change from Europe, so-called Europe, to the Americas. The philosophy of dumb diverses. On whose authority are you coming to tell me that you can take my land? And here we are. We're now at a point where we dealt with pride. We took a straight uppercut, stomping, ass whipping, beat down based on our pride. So now as we are being raised up, the first thing that we have to deal with is our pride. Because we can look around and see how pride is being destroyed and how destructive pride is. That's why the philosophy is changed. That's the whole premise. We no longer think about voting. We no longer. 2020 showed us that the philosophy of their education changed, right? Because we were homeschooling our kids, and we were teaching them true history, and they went back to school afterwards. And what did the nation's philosophy do? They wanted us to change back to their philosophy. No. We can't have you guys believing that we were so wicked. But it was too late. The philosophy had changed. We had gained back our free will. All praises to our Elohim. He showed us the way to tell the truth. And now today, how do we know the times of the Gentiles have come to an end? We now are at the precipice, or rather I'll say it like this. They are now at the precipice of having no one to vote for. Think about that. There is no one to vote for. Their world is splintered. They're like, well, I don't like Trump. I don't like Biden. But wait, are those the only two choices? Do you mean to tell me there's nobody else that's worthy to lead your Gentile nations other than Biden and Trump? That's how you know that their end is here. It's a wrap. But that also means that our beginning is here, but we have to still do something. That's why, back in the day, you go, well, I'm saved. You ain't saved. You have to endure and persevere till the end. In order to find the salvation that you seek, in order to get to the kingdom first, you have to be able to be humbled. You have to be able to go through the fire. You have to go through some sacrifice, some sacrifices. You have to internally change fundamentally your philosophy. It's like KRS-One, my philosophy. That's why it's interesting, all the music has been based on our understanding of who we are. Yet we did not have the free will to be able to express truly who we are, or who we were, and who we will be. We were unable to do that, so it came out secular and detrimental to us. But now, as you look back on that music, Earth, Wind, and Fire, so many others, Stevie Wonder, when you look back on our secular music, they were actually telling us, Bob Marley, they were actually telling us, Peter Tosh, telling us who we were. We be jamming, we be jamming, we all thought it was jamming. No, ja, because that's how they put the J in there. We be yamming in the name of the Lord. We be yamming. We are Yah's men. See, when we go back and we reflect on these things, it strengthens our resolve to understand our hope, our understanding, our wisdom. Because we hope for a righteous world, a world that gives us shalom. But we got to go through something. We have to continue to endeavor and endure and persevere in order to get to shalom. Otherwise, we might as well just be in the churchianity church, the Christian Insanity Church, the heathen church, because we're thinking we have not changed our philosophy. Their philosophy was, you know what, we're going to educate. Well, wait, our philosophy was education by apprenticeship. You learn from a teacher. You learn from a master. It was one-on-one. You did what your daddy did. You learn these things for learning was a lifetime of learning. Even as you got older and you started teaching, you were still learning. Their philosophy of educating is you go to these schools, their schools, you learn their regurgitation of their contextual concepts that they provide, that they thought. That's their philosophy, which, mind you, should show and be very evident of their pride and their error. Their philosophy is riddled with error. Their philosophy of politics is politics there is no servant leadership, as they all love to proclaim. These evangelicals, these silly evangelicals want to proclaim, I'm a servant leader. No, you're not. You're self-serving. It's two separate things. That's why right now we're given the option to choose. You can choose. You can get with this or you can get with that. And this is our choice to make because our free will, and that's what I'm saying. So within their philosophies of things, they had to take people's free will away from them in order for their philosophies to stand the test of time. And they were able to do that for a time, long time, because of our unwillingness to maintain our proper philosophy. You can't do that right now. I mean, what's a philosophy of the past? Don't eat pork, the swine. Well, you know what? Them ribs taste all right. We can have that. It's all good. Take heed and take care that you hollow my Sabbath. Well, on Sunday it's okay. We can go on Sunday. We go to the ball game on Saturday. See, these are philosophical ideologies. These are not laden with truthful wisdom. That's why, these prophecies are out here. He's going to put people, he's going to bring the East to the West to destroy the West, just like he brought the East to America, to the West, to destroy it. Everything comes from the East. That's why Putin, they're like, Putin, if he comes into South Africa, he's got to be arrested for war crimes. Nigga, please. But war crimes. That's why that Hamite brother from Africa, when he was having, what was it? Not Kenya. It's another one. Can't remember. Maybe Ethiopia. I think it might be Ethiopia. I don't remember. But one of the brothers was questioned about human rights violation. And he's going, what are you talking about? This is the pot calling the kettle black. This is the throwing stones in a glass house. This is the first one to stone them. If you've done no evil, throw the first stone. This is what the allegory and the truth of scriptures are showing. It was set up to show us, but it was also set up to show them. It's a double-edged sword. And they don't want to acknowledge that double-edged sword because they want to believe that they are not the Gentiles, which, okay, you could believe you're a woman. You could believe you're a cat. But none of that makes it true. You can believe that you are us, but that don't make it true. I mean, what's that? The Gloria, Donna Shell, whatever that woman's name is, she went out and had people believing that she was us until she wasn't. Everybody faking the funk. Everybody faking the funk. Even us. We were believing we were them. Matter of fact, we were believing that we were nobody who created everything, built everything, in their mind believe that they are nobody. How, you ask? Because their free will was taken. That's what our punishment was. If you don't do this, I'm going to bring a foolish nation and I'm going to have them take your free will. Because what is the gift of humanity from our Elohim? Free will. That's the gift. And we took it for granted. And he took it from us. Albeit he allowed these silly, foolish nation, Gentile heathens to do so. But he took it from us. Now he's giving it back because we're able to throw off those shackles, the yokes of iron that was around our necks, holding us down, keeping our free will grounded. Now we're able to think. Now we're able to see. Now we're able to speak. Now we're able to read. And a lot of people got problems with that. I'm all right with that problem. I mean, because at the end of the day, that problem ain't my problem. I realized the Inquisition was a demonic situation, but that was set forth to take our free will. That's what that was about. That's why they don't want to talk about it. Because if they talk about how they took or suppressed and oppressed a people's free will, then that tells you who we are. It's not rocket science. But now that we got our free will, we got to make a choice. We got to make a choice to choose wisely. Because, nothing that comes easy is worth it. And that's the philosophy of the Gentiles. Shoot, we want comfort. We We want everything built for us. We want everything given to us freely. See, that's their philosophy. But our philosophy was you got to work. Faith without works is dead, son. No. We got faith. We got to have faith. Jesus loves us. You got to have faith. You got to be doing. You got to be working your faith. I don't believe in Jesus anymore. On TikTok they got all these little lives that they do. It's so hilarious to me. I keep scrolling past it because it becomes a situation where if I entertain then I become a fool. So I just pass them by. But there's lots of them going, I'm an atheist, I'm a Satanist, come prove me wrong, or Christians, or Jesus wasn't a real man, prove me wrong. I'm like, man, come on. And, they got people in there talking crazy, agreeing and disagreeing, and I'm going, the Father has me go, pass on it. And then those things that I do stop on, I say my say, and I move forward. I don't go back and forth. I ain't got time for that. Because my free will is too precious to be free willing it with the heathens. This ain't no free willing. This is free, straight up will, mine. And it's mine. Just like yours is yours, mine is mine. If you try at this day and age to try to oppress my free will, then you will get what you deserve. You will get what you deserve. Matter of fact, that's the whole story of the Bible. Whole story of all of our scriptures. These other nations wanted what we had, wanted to take it. Our Father didn't let them, and we retained our free will to be who we are, to do how we wanted to do, to think how we wanted to think. And we obtained and maintained our free will until we chose not to. Again, we chose that, just like Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve chose to give up their free will when they were told, hey, don't entertain that tree because that will surely take your free will away and you will die. They entertained it, and here we are. And here we are. This ain't got nothing to do with black and white. This got to do with philosophy. Philosophy. Or philosophies. How one thinks is how one will be. So if we continue to think like a Gentile, like a heathen, hating on them, talking about them negatively, matter of fact, entertaining them, then we're using our free will unwisely. Yeah, we want change, but we don't want it at the cost of us. We don't want the cost to be against us. Dealing with the heathen. Let the heathen do what they do. Let the Gentiles they do. Let Israel do what they do. This isn't me getting on here with my pride saying, hey, you got to listen to me. I'm telling you. No, this is just my experience, my wisdom that I was given to give to the nation. Now, whoever that may be, it might not be for everybody, but if it's for someone, great. If it's not, great. I'm doing my part. Because what I keep seeing is this fundamental change of philosophy occurring amongst all of this disasters that's going on today. And they can't stop it. It's like J. Rita Damage. Can't stop this. We have changed, we have turned the corner, we have crossed the road, we have made it over the mountain. We have made it over Mount Seir. But there's still more to do, and there's still a distance to go to get to Zion. And you can take a step. You could stop to breathe and enjoy the shalom that you've been given based on your free will, because the oppression is over. But don't stop. Don't stop. All of the histories, all of the sciences, all of the social sciences, all of the math, all of the politics, all of the social is all based on philosophy. That's why in school ain't no more philosophy. I don't want you thinking. Philosophy makes you critically think. And if you got a philosophy and it goes against the philosophy of the group, then you are not part of the group, and you could sway others to your philosophy, and therefore you have to be destroyed. And that's what's going on. That's what's happened. That's where we are. And now as we regain our philosophy based on our free will, we now have something. We now have our gift. That is a gift. Do not look this gift horse in the mouth. Do not take this for granted, this free will that we have gained back, because our turn is over from these curses. But don't take it for granted. Continue working on yourself. Continue striving and seeking the Father, because you have to do what? Seek the kingdom first. And you can't seek the kingdom if you are dealing unwisely, without free will, with a poor philosophy based on Gentiles. You can't do it. You can't seek the kingdom, because you'll be seeking retribution. You'll be seeking a vacation. You'll be seeking, $1 million gazillion dollars. You'll be seeking, Ferrari. You won't be seeking the kingdom. And again, who the hell am I? I'm nobody. I'm just a vessel for the Father. At times, I do this on Wednesday, and it's funny because I want to do more, but the time is just not right for me to do so much, because it's not. I mean, if you don't know by now, you better ask somebody. This is an individual walk. We are doing this individually in the time that you are putting forth in it would be rightfully sowing seed. And if you're sowing seed every day, and this is just my take on it, because, again, who am I? Everyone is different. Everyone's purpose and mission is different. So, of course, there's going to be brothers and sisters that's going to be on every day to try to change the philosophy from Gentile to Israel, which is their purpose, which is their mission to do. That is their ministry. Mine is a bit different. Mine, I'm just speaking. I'm using the wisdom of my experience to tell the truth. I'm not on here looking for money. I'm not on here looking for fame and glory. I'm just trying to tell the truth based on what I see. And now I keep seeing that this philosophy has changed. So if someone says our fathers have inherited lies, that would mean that the philosophy has changed. Philosophy, the thought process. And if that's the end game, then that would mean that all of our philosophies, all of our understanding, and all of our experience and wisdom will change. I give not two rats' asses about Trump, about Biden. Matter of fact, about any of them. DeSantis, any of them, the little Indian boy, any of them. Because they're going to get their reward. So I'm not gonna try to change their philosophy to get them there. That's the Father's job. I'm not gonna do the Father's job. I'm going to do my job. Sometimes, what I do is I do have a voice recorder, and I record things throughout the day, and sometimes I want to upload them. Sometimes, I just don't. And a lot of this, as of late, I have been not really wanting to because, the Father hasn't, and I say the Father hasn't allowed me to, but and how does that look? I'll be saying something, and I'll think it's a good word, and the Father says, yeah, but that's for you. And then he'll take it out of my memory, and I forget about it. But I have it for me to go back on and listen to and remember that time when I said that, when the Father had me say it through the Spirit for my own edification. And I would say for all our nation, that's what we need to be doing. We need to get a little voice recorder app on our phone, and as we go through the day, that's how we should be saying stuff into it. We should be speaking the spiritual things into it. We all should be doing that. Find a verse, read it into it, and then talk about it to the Father. Have that conversation to the Father through your voice recorder so you can reflect back on it later. I'm just giving you, again, the experience and wisdom that I have that's helped me. Because this is a beautiful time that we're in, albeit a dangerous time, albeit a sad, a sorrowful time. But it's all our choice. It's all our choice. That's why, I did this or that. I did the black sheep because, last week I was saying it. That wasn't me saying it. That was the Father saying it through it. And as I was saying it, I was like, that's, yeah. And then, some comments were said, and, black sheep, that, yeah. And I had to listen to it again, and I was like, they're really saying something here. They're really saying something. You can get with this, or you can get with that. Now, granted, they were talking about some other things, some secular things, but the hook, you can either get with this, or you can get with that. Man, our philosophies have changed. So, and I can only tell you that this is something that, and if you don't see how we talk and how we commune and how we deal with things differently today than we've done over the last decade and 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, you're not woke. You're not woke. Things have changed. The maturation has called. A few months ago I was talking about Jacob's ladder. Yeah, Jacob's ladder, we're ascending. Sometimes as we ascend, some of us can't go to where others are. There's no order to this. There's understanding in this that you can only get through your experience, through your own oil, through the wisdom of your own oil. Again, that's why it's going to be tough on a lot of these people, because their philosophy their philosophy has no oil, has no wisdom in it. It just has none. It just has none. All right, so I'm going to end with this. Amos 5. Hear ye this word which I take up against you, even a lamentation, O house of Israel. The virgin of Israel is fallen. She shall no more rise. She is forsaken upon her land. There is none to raise her up. For thus saith Yahusha, the city that went out by 1,000 shall leave 100, and that which went forth by 100 shall leave 10 to the house of Israel. Yahusha, unto the house of Israel, seek ye me, and ye shall live. But seek not Bethel, nor enter into Gilgal, and pass not to to Beersheba, for Gilgal shall surely go into captivity, and Bethel shall come to naught. Seek Yahusha, and ye shall live, lest he break out like fire in the house of Joseph and devour it, and there be none to quench it in Bethel. Ye who turn judgment to wormwood, and leave off righteousness in the earth, seek him that maketh the 7 stars of Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. Yahusha, Yahuwah is his name. That strengtheneth the spoiled against the strong, so that the spoiled shall come against the fortress. They hate him that rebuke in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. For as much therefore as your treading is upon the poor, and ye take from him burdens of wheat, ye have built houses of hewn stone, but ye shall not dwell in them. Ye have planted pleasant vineyards, but ye shall not drink wine of them. For I know your manifold transgressions and your mighty sins. They afflict the just. They take a bribe, and they turn aside the poor in the gate from their right. Prudence shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and not evil, that ye may live. And so Yahusha, the Elohim of hosts, shall be with you as ye have spoken. Hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate. It may be that Yahusha of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph. Therefore, Yahusha, the God of hosts, the Elohim of hosts, Yahusha saith thus, wailing shall be in all streets, and they shall say in all the highways, Alas, alas, and they shall call the husbandman to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing. And in all vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith Yahusha. Woe unto you that desire the day of Yahusha. To what end is it for you? The day of Yahusha is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him, and went into the house, and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him. Shall not the day of Yahusha be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assembly. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy viols. But let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch and Sheol, your images, the star of your God, which ye have made to yourselves. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith Yahusha, whose name is the Elohim of hosts. All praises to our Elohim. All praises to our Elohim. What has been done to Israel will be done to the nations, double. The philosophies have changed. The era has been, the errors, E-R-R-O-R-S, has been lifted up to the Father. The stench has been lifted up. The saints have been wailing and crying, asking for justice. When, O Elohim, when, O Elohim, when, O Elohim, will we get justice? Well, I'm here to tell you justice is here. If you don't see it, then you need to see it. You need to wake up. The nations are running scared. And it's a terrible day for them. Again, we were judged, they will be judged. So if Jacob's trouble came to us, Jacob's trouble will still come to them. Nothing new under the sun. Be strong in your spirit. Maintain your disposition. Change your philosophy from the world. Come up out of her so that you are not partakers of these plagues that's about to come upon her. Stand and seek the kingdom first. And give all praises, great glory, all praises, hallelujah, to our Father. Shalom.